7. Let's get this thing started.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the December 12th, 2017 regular school board meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Craig.
Here.
Mr. Estheimer.
Present.
Mr. Freitas.
Here.
Mr. Green.
Here.
Mr. Koopser.
Here.
Ms. Reed.
It's Mossop, but present.
I'm sorry, Mossop. And Dr. Pomponio.
Here. Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission statement for Southgate is Learning for Life. The vision statement is Southgate Community Schools, the best choice for students and parents. Okay, are there any revisions to the agenda?
Madam President,
Mr. Koopser?
I'd like to make an agenda revision as it relates to under student growth representatives. We have the construction update.
Okay.
We move that up to presentations.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so can I have an approval of the revised agenda?
I'll move the revised agenda.
Support.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Craig and a support by Mr. Green. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to citizens' comments. I don't think there's any. So we'll move on to presentations. We have the summer tax report by Mrs. McLaughlin. Thank you.
This isn't a presentation per se. I just wanted to provide you with information regarding to your action item number 2, which is the annual summer tax resolution. It's a resolution that's required to be passed by the board every year prior to January 1st that renews and stipulates that you are approving and with continuing to collect 100% of our property taxes with the summer tax collection. We do need that revenue in the summer because we do not get a state aid payment in September, so it does help us with our cash flow and to meet our payroll. This district has operated this way for a lot of years before I got here, and it's the best thing for our cash flow operations to continue to do so. Once the resolution is passed and signed by the board secretary, then I in turn have to take the resolution and send it to both the city of Southgate and the city of Allen Park, so that for 2018, that gives them the authority to put 100% of our tax levy on the summer tax bill.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. McLaughlin? Okay, thank you again. Okay, now the presentation we have is Mr. Dan Connors with Food Service. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you for letting me come tonight. In your packet, you got a brief report on the food service. It's kind of short because it's only really 2 months in. We just finished the 3rd month of November. So, saying that, we started off the year behind. I just talked with Teresa this morning, and I got an update on how many students we lost. It's actually 345. We had projected 245. So that's an additional $10,000 that we're in the hole starting off the school year. We have had some successes. We had new equipment put in at Anderson over the summer. We started a yogurt, frozen yogurt machine at Anderson also. We got an equipment grant which allowed us to get a new freezer for Beacon. We just finished a food safety training, ServSafe. We had 6 of our kitchen managers go through it. And I just found out before I got here that all of them passed, so that's good. And we started the wellness program last year, and we're continuing it through this year. Another project that I got going mid January should be up and running. And Anderson is a coffee machine. We tested it out in October, and it was only credit card or debit card process. We needed to have 15 per day. We actually hit 11. So I think once we get the machine in and have it with cash available, we should be able to make more than enough per day to meet our quota.
Is that a coffee machine for the students?
Yes, well, it's for anybody,
Okay.
you know.
Does it make like lattes or just?
It makes lattes, it
Oh.
makes hot chocolate.
Okay.
So it's a pretty nice machine. Like I said, we had it for a week. It seemed to go pretty well. And I'm hoping that over the winter, people will like it even better.
Madam President, on that note, I'm just curious, Dan, is there any signpost or anything, just to we've heard a lot recently about kids having an accidental overdose from caffeine, and a lot of these kids get up and they slam a Monster in the morning, my son included, and then if he wanted to, he'd drink, if he could, he would drink coffee at home, but I kind of regulate how much caffeine he's getting. Do we have a notice, or is that something that maybe we can do near that machine that says what intake
Sure.
should be, or be careful if you've had these drinks have caffeine in it and you're about to have more? Just
As a precaution, no.
Yeah, as a precaution,
Yeah.
because the students, I don't think, meant to do it, and they weren't trying to like get all hopped up on the caffeine. It's just kind of the trending thing at the high school age. So if that could maybe be taken into consideration.
Shouldn't be a problem. And another project that I was hoping to get started this year, but unfortunately I couldn't meet with the people in time, is to work with Eastern Michigan University to get some dietitian interns in. This way we can do stuff in the classroom. Younger people, younger students, first, second, third, teach them about fruits and vegetables and different ways, and bring different fruits and vegetables into the class to let them taste them. I've done it before. It works pretty well. So,
Are there any other colleges that have any interns that have that program or in that program?
I'm sure that there are. I had Eastern Michigan came to one of our directors' meetings, and I got a lot of information from them.
Okay.
So, but I could reach out to other colleges, but I wanted to get it up and running first.
Sounds good.
So, and that's pretty much what we have going. Any questions?
Okay. Any questions from the board? Thank you very much.
No problem. If you do, you know where to find me.
Thanks for coming out tonight, Dan.
No problem.
Okay, so now we have Mr. Krakowski.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to give you the monthly update for the bond program, kind of what we've been doing, where we're going here coming up. So really the last few weeks been focusing on getting the work from 2017 closed out, getting bid packs 6 and 7 with Clark Construction done. They're winding down, getting the last few punch list items. We finally really got all our materials finally delivered here that we were waiting on the last couple weeks. So working on getting the last few doors done, getting punch lists done, and they're really demobilizing and starting to pack up and close everything up. So still a handful of items that we're working through, but they're we're meeting weekly or every 2 weeks, kind of going through the list and checking things off here as quickly as we can, getting those wrapped up. I said that included all the exterior doors. We finally got the remaining doors in the last couple weeks, and they've been working to get those all installed. Also, the roofing project for 2017, we're just closing that project out now, kind of getting all the final books and closeouts and everything wrapped up and getting that contract closed out. So that's kind of the work we've been working on here the last few weeks. Upcoming, we have the auditorium lighting and sound and stage curtain project that will be starting here next week. So they're getting rolling on that. And then looking forward to getting started on the roofing projects here next summer. So that's kind of the main bulk that we have upcoming. Looking at some kind of short-term tasks, what we have. So today little bit later, have a package in front of you for the roofing projects for 2018, and we'll review the details of that, and that'll wrap up the largest bulk of the project that's left in the bond. So we'll review that shortly, and then, like I mentioned, the auditorium, they're looking at starting Monday, getting in there, start demoing out the existing stage lighting and equipment that's in there, and be working through the break, and then really through all of January, getting the new lighting and sound systems installed, getting the stage curtain up, and then they're focusing on having that done by early February before the winter plays that they have going on, I think at the middle or end of February, something like that is their schedule. So that's the couple things we have going, and then the roof project will be starting in June, like I mentioned. So we're really kind of trying to wrap everything up here at this point and kind of have it tidied up outside of these couple projects that'll be going on next year, and then see where we're at and move forward with little stuff for next year. So any questions you guys have for me on what's been going on or kind of what we have going?
What are the Phase 2 technology updates for 2017 that we had done?
Oh boy, I have not had an update from Mike in a little bit, so
Mr. Tashi.
yeah, unfortunately I really haven't had, I will get something though from him, request. I have not got an update from him recently. I know he's really been working, getting things wrapped up.
A lot of the 2017 technology work were the individual devices for classrooms, and a lot of that we had done a survey, and that's part of the long-range planning for replacing equipment and things like that. We can get a more detailed update, but the infrastructure was year 1, and year 2 has been a lot of the specific classroom and teaching devices.
And didn't he add to the 5-year plan, the technology piece?
It's ongoing.
It
okay.
hasn't been added to the document yet.
We talked about it
Yeah,
this
we just
morning.
had that conversation this
okay.
morning.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to student government representatives, we have the Link Crew, Dawn Olson. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. Thanks for having us here. My name is Dawn Olson, school counselor at Southgate Anderson High School, and I am one of the Link Crew coordinators at Anderson High School. We began this journey in 2013. Myself and Kristen Stewart wrote a grant to help fund and begin Link Crew. We have 4 current Link Crew coordinators, myself, Kristen Stewart, Dina Doyle, and John Rama. And in the 4 years that we've been active in Southgate, we've trained over 300 juniors and seniors in Link Crew in mentoring and leadership, and we've influenced over 1,400 incoming freshmen from Davidson to the high school. Link Crew is a structured program. It's a year-long program where our students mentor and guide and help with character development. It starts with an orientation day in August. They've been trained. They're going to talk a little bit about that. So there's an orientation day in August where they, again, lead and work with the freshmen in small groups. And then that transitions throughout the entire year. So then they work with them socially, academically, and with character development throughout the year. It's kind of 3 prongs. The 3 prongs that are lively and active at Anderson High School are, we have academic follow-ups, and Mackenzie Yankee is here, and she's going to talk about those. And we have social follow-ups, and Juliet Griggs is here, and she's going to share about our social follow-ups. And then we have leadership initiative follow-ups throughout the year, and Stephanie Glitz is going to talk about that right now.
So I'm Stephanie Glitz, and before I begin talking about the leadership initiated follow-ups, I would like to share with all of you a bit about our training and orientation day. In June, after leaders have been selected, we have a June Fun Day. This is a 2-hour-long day directed in introducing the new leaders to Link Crew. During this time, we compete in team-building activities and are introduced to lessons that we will be responsible for leading during orientation for the freshmen. We then give up one of our days in the summer for an 8-hour training day. It's during this time that we review in depth the lessons to be presented during freshman orientation. A few days later, we participate in welcoming the freshmen to AHS in their orientation. This begins at 8 for us and ends at 1 with the debriefing session, like a 20-minute, we just go over meeting our freshmen and everything. During orientation, we conduct and lead our small group of 8 to 10 freshmen in several activities geared towards getting to know each other. Building trust within our group and to answer all concerns and questions freshmen may have regarding their high school, their first day of school, and what is it like all around at Southgate Anderson. The first day of school, we help the entire day answering any questions and helping guide the freshmen to their classes. And through the year, we follow up and meet up with our freshmen on half days during lunchtime visits and one-on-one meetings with our freshmen. So.
Hi, I'm Julia Griggs. I'm going to be talking about some of the social activities that we do with our freshmen. Our school sponsored group activities that bring freshmen and Link Crew leaders together for a variety of fun events such as the tailgate, which is something that we do in the fall. This year we did it at one of the freshman volleyball games, and it was one of the activities that I went to, and it was really fun. We got to kind of talk to all of the freshmen and freshmen that are in our groups and not in our groups, and so it was a good way for us to bond with them. And then they went to the freshman volleyball game, which it was a good way to get students to support some of the freshman teams. Another activity we did was during one of our half days, we had a scavenger hunt. So during the half day, we met with our freshmen, and on that day we had certain activities that we would have to, say, take a picture in the counseling office, and it was just to try and get the freshmen to explore the school and maybe meet different teachers or see different things. And then throughout the week they were supposed to go off on their own, and it was kind of like a competition between the groups. And so then we announced the winner at the freshman tailgate, so that was also another fun activity we did. Some of the other things we do to build team bonding is we do a cocoa and cram right before our finals, and so some of the leaders go and we just help them with homework and help them to study and get them ready for their finals. We also have some of the Link Crew leaders, myself included, tutor during some of our hours. So me personally, I tutor MLA, which is mandatory lunch assistance. So any of the freshmen that have missing homework assignments, they come during their lunch, and I get to help them with their homework. And it's with Miss Olson and Miss Doyle as well. And it's been a great experience for me because I kind of get to teach them, and they also get to learn from me. So that's another great thing that I've gained from Link Crew. Some of the other activities we do are we do an ice cream social in March, which is really fun, and it's just another way to bond with our freshmen. And throughout the year, we will have High Five Fridays to help get our day started in a positive way. So we'll meet at the ends of the hallways and just kind of cheer on the freshmen, and it's just a really fun way to bond with them. Next, Mackenzie is going to talk about some of our academic follow-ups.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie. So our academic follow-ups, we take an hour out of our school day and we go to a freshman class and we talk about one of the topics. One of ours is that we just recently did is we go to a 9th grade classroom to talk to the freshmen to help educate and inspire them by giving them specific talks needed to be successful. Last month we went into the classrooms and talked about time management, and it was really nice because it's a way to connect with other freshmen other than your own, and they can hear from other Link Crew leaders their own experiences, because usually they're only meeting with 2, so it's just another way for them to have new connections made so they can look to others for help as well. And future lessons we have planned are going to include goal setting and achieving excellence in their lives. Oh, any questions? Thought you were doing that.
I have a question about friendship or making friends, because I know a lot of the students, when they go into a new building, they're awkward and they want to make friends, or maybe they don't have many friends, so they're scared. So how do you help with that?
So what we do is I don't know if it's random, the groups are, but we take 8 to 10 freshmen that may or may not know each other, and and we kind of get them together, and we do a lot of like bonding activities, like getting to know each other's names and what kind of activities we're involved with. I know before me and my Link leader, or my partner, before we went and like started getting into all these activities, we introduced ourselves and we let them know some of the activities that we're involved in and outside of school. So it's a really cool way to be able to find people that you have in common, like stuff that you have in common with that you wouldn't normally talk to. You wouldn't necessarily be able to have that sort of situation where you're introduced to some new people. It's pretty, actually, I loved it my freshman year, so.
Are they able to contact you guys as their mentor throughout the year?
Yeah,
if
we
they
give
have
them
a question or.
I know I gave all of my Linkies my number, so I stay in contact with them. We have little group chats, and we're all in contact on social media, so they have various ways to get in contact with us. Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
We have really cute shirts, too.
Oh, nice.
Great job, ladies.
Thank you. Okay, now we have JROTC Colonel Clemens. Welcome.
We will have the screen down, so if you'd like to move a little bit so you can see up on the screen, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
It's coming on.
It's cold outside, too.
Okay, Cadet out.
Good evening. I'm Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Aller. I am the Battalion Commander of Southgate's JROTC program. I have been in the program for 4 years. I'm a senior this year. And next slide. Okay. So last year we did 3 Saturday drill competitions where our drill teams go and compete with other schools for trophies. We did 4 honor guards where at the conferences we would have our cadets there to guide parents who need help or hold doors. We had 2 color guards where our color guard would go and present the flags at games or assemblies. And we marched in the homecoming parade. We do community service projects. So last year our project was we collected toys for kids in need and we would give those out. And at the military banquet we would recognize cadets and their accomplishments throughout the year. And twice a week on Thursdays and Fridays we do PT. Next slide. Okay, so our goals for this year, we hope to work with other consortium schools to recruit more DCTC students into JROTC. We hope to win more trophies at competitions. This year so far, the Lincoln Park Drill Meet in November, we won 3 trophies, 2 third places and 1 second place. And we have 2 more drill competitions in January and February. March, we have the Raiders competition where our Raiders team will go and compete with other schools. And we have our spring athletic comp where the cadets will do the cadet challenge and compete with other schools also. We also hope to take a maximum number of students to JCLC, our summer camp, next summer. And I will be followed by Cadet Wiedner.
I am Cadet First Sergeant Wiedner. I am from Southgate Anderson High School. I am a LET2, which means I'm a sophomore, and I've been there in the program for 2 years. The Raiders competition is a series of events in which cadets use their physical fitness to perform different events and as a team, get graded for time and how fast they could do it against other schools in a variety of different competitions. They can get 3 trophies, first, second, and third, between a variety of schools. Next slide. What Raiders competitions help cadets with is they make them more motivated to help other cadets be more active in the program, help them become leaders and take charge in the unit, and also make sure that they're strong and more fit. I'll be followed by Cadet Andronic.
Hi, I am Cadet Major Andronic. I am the battalion's executive officer, and I'm a LET4, and I'm a senior. First, I'll be talking about drill teams. So Southgate has 3 different types of drill teams. We have color guard, which consists of 2 flags and 2 rifles. We have a armed drill team, which consists, which the picture up here is the armed drill team. They have rifles and they do a routine. And then we have the unarmed drill team, which is similar to the arm drill team, but they just don't use the rifles. They go to generally 3 competitions per year to compete for trophies. So we went to Lincoln Park and won 3 trophies, as Jenny said before. We are going to a couple more this year to compete for trophies, and hopefully we can win a couple more before the school year ends. Next slide. This year and for the past 12 years, we had Miss Margot from the Wayne County Wayne County Health Department come in to do a presentation on sexually transmitted diseases. She does this presentation every year to help educate the students and make sure they know the dangers of contracting these types of diseases and make sure the cadets are aware. Slide. This year so far, we've done 1 parent-teacher conference. Generally, we do at least 2 per year. So the cadets hold open doors for parents and help guide them around the school and show them around classrooms that they might not know how to get to and answer any questions the parents might have about the school. Here they're selling jerky for a fundraiser. Next slide. In the spring, at the end of each year, we have the military banquet. At this banquet, we celebrate the cadets' accomplishments throughout the school year. We have a formal dinner, we have guest speakers, and we give out awards. And at the end of the night, we get to dance so the cadets can have some fun. Next slide. So a select few cadets get recognized by earning awards. That's me earning an award from Colonel Clemens last school year. We have a couple different awards, and various cadets win. We have like the Superior Cadet Award, which 2 freshmen and 2 upperclassmen win each year, chosen by the colonel. And then we have a lot of other awards from various other recognizable associations given out. I will be followed by Cadet Schubert.
I am Cadet Corporal Schubert. I am a freshman new to the JROTC program. When I first joined, I was actually very excited for this due to the fact that I have lots of military background, so joining JROTC was perfect for me, and honestly, I think I made the right decision. Next slide, please. The push-up, it's one of our activities that we do to exercise and discipline. It's one of my favorite ones, and we use it in the Cadet Challenge too. Next slide, please. Cadet sports, we do it every Thursday and Friday. PT, half of it is stretching, and the other half is us playing games. We play games like dodgeball, speedball, and other activities, and generally gets the kids moving, and I will be followed by Cadet Toko.
Hello, I'm Cadet Second Lieutenant Toko. I am a senior in Southgate Anderson High School. I will be talking about the Cadet Challenge. So right here in the Cadet Challenge, we do every 3 times a year now. We will be doing 5 things for our Cadet Challenge, which is the mile run, the V-sit, the block shuttle run, curl-ups, or flex arm hang. Either one of those works for you. Right here we have 1 cadet doing the flex arm hang. Next slide, please. Right here is the Cadet Challenge Award. This is what you get. You get an award if you get 50% or higher on the Cadet Challenge, which you will gain a red circle badge, right there on most of the cadets. This is 6 out of 18 cadets right here. They gained, 8 out of 16 cadets, they have gained a award. A couple of them have the red badge, so they got 50% or more on the Cadet Challenge. A couple of them have the blue, which is 80% or higher on the Cadet Challenges. Any one of those 5, they must get 80 or 50% higher. Next slide, please. Spring Athletic Comp, just like they said earlier in the thing. It's once a year. Every year they do each cadets from every school does all 5 of the Cadet Challenges to compete versus every other school to win. I will be followed by Cadet Andrews.
Hi, I'm Cadet Second Lieutenant Edwards. I'm a senior at Carlson High School, and this is my 3rd year in ROTC. I'm just going to be briefing you guys on JCLC. So basically, it's just a week-long, basically like a boot camp kind of deal that kids get the option to go to. It's out on Alpena Military Base, so just a little bit north of here. Next slide. On the left, this is at the mess hall. Everything is really fast-paced. You know, everything's on a time schedule, just like in the Army. You know, just trying to give kids like a little brief overlook if they want to go into the Army. Just a brief kind of look into the life of a guy in the boot camp. That's at the mess hall, and then on the right, that's a guy doing a Swiss knot, which you're going to need at the rappelling course that you use for the week, which is again I'm going to be briefing you guys on. Next slide. On the left, that's the first of the 3 courses that you're going to be doing. That's the free fall tower. 1 cadet goes at a time. You go up to the top, and an instructor hooks you onto the rappelling tower, and you just kind of ease off the way and then rappel all the way down. And on the right, that's a kid getting ready to rappel down the tower. Next slide. This is the second one you do. This is the rappelling tower that 2 cadets can do at a time. There's 2 instructors at the top and 2 at the bottom, just to make sure that cadets are safe the whole time. It's 4 stories tall. You climb all the way up, and you just hook up to the top and then lean over with your 2 feet on the wall and walk backwards all the way down the building. Next slide. This is the last one. This is the rock climbing wall. This is 2 cadets at a time. It's just it's probably one of the simpler ones. It's you just find your way all the way to the top and ring the bell just to make sure, and then you that's basically it. And I'm just going to be followed by First Lieutenant Ballard.
Hello, I'm First Lieutenant Ballard, coming from Carlson High School, 3 years in the program. Today I'm going to present the JCLC team building activities. First, starting with bivouac. Bivouac consists of 2 activities in the wildlife area of Fort Collins, one being azimuth map breeding and bearing, and second being camping, at which you and your partner use teamwork to build the one tent that both of you will sleep in. As you can see, in the left side, the man facing his back towards the camera is me, with my cadet partner, Bishop, from the Detroit program, building our tents. Each person holds 1 piece of the tent and 3 pieces of rope with either 1 or 2 sticks, and that consists of one of the tents. Next slide. Next activity would be river rafting. With basic study of oar-powered rafts with 1 leader and 6 paddlemen, the goal is to finish a 100-yard circuit around the pylon, reach the launching ramp at which you started from, and with the most fastest time leading to if you're first place or not. Next slide. Last activity I'll be talking about is drown proofing. This activity is a basic lifeguard training situation where the victims, the person with the life vest, are to be successfully saved from every cadet of your company in different scenarios. I'll then be followed by Colonel Clements.
So the cadets have covered most everything. You can see our DCTC cadets. We have 2 of them speaking tonight from our partner schools. In fact, we have representation this year from every school except Grosse-Ile, and we do have interest in Grosse-Ile, maybe having a couple of students here. We haven't had a student from Grosse-Ile in 4 years now. We're sitting right at 34, which is a maximum number of seats I have in the classroom. Our program's well. Cadets covered everything. I guess I could just ask if there's any questions. I'd love to. I can talk about this all night. So
for the obstacle course that was earlier in the slide, is that in the local schools, around the local schools?
That was at Jackson Area Career Center.
Okay.
They do a Raiders meet. All the Downriver schools do the same meets every fall. So John Glenn is coming up in January, Kennedy High School. Well, now it's the Kennedy Truman combined schools. The Truman ROTC shut down, so Kennedy and Truman will merge next year. And then the JCLC summer camp is run by Detroit Public Schools, and we go to it every year and carry. Last year we had 19 cadets, which is about average for us. It is a great week. They kind of slid over that. But for $10, you get rid of your kid for a whole week. They get 3 meals a day, and they come home and they sleep for a week when they get back, because it is a fast-paced week.
And where is the military base that was mentioned up there that you go to, and when is that?
Fort Collins Air National Guard Base in Alpena, Michigan.
When do you go to that place, to that base?
This year it's going to be 1 week after school is out. It's always after school's out. We've discussed before trying to do it, but it's 2 near finals, and we couldn't support that. So we try to get it in before the 4th of July, but it doesn't always happen.
That sounds good.
Madam
Any questions? Mrs. Massa?
First, I just want to say congratulations on the take-home of trophies in November. I've been to competitions for 5 years. This was the tightest competition I've ever been to. And for ROTC parents, we sit on the edge of our seats because we know, and I know Armed missed a step, but I only know that because my kid is on the squad. Otherwise, on point, this was the best Southgate has ever looked, and represented our school really well this year. And every parent that was there said this was the best that they have looked in years, and they've always been phenomenal. But I did have two questions. First was, this year I know you guys weren't selling beef jerky, and the picture we saw of Xander Deli and Stewart was from a few years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is the only year that every person in my family hasn't expected to get a stocking full of those.
I am sad to
Meat
report
sticks.
that we can no longer sell that high sodium content beef jerky because it does not meet the former president's wife's requirements for good food in schools.
So will that be coming back? Is that going to be a fundraiser that comes back, or will that morph into something different?
The beef jerky will not be coming back. I've actually talked to our supplier in Florida, and they say if I take any more sodium out, it's like eating a piece of cardboard. So we may research fundraisers in the future.
Okay. We're just, a lot of the parents get together and we talk, and we always look forward to giving back, even if we have to buy meat sticks that we pawn off on everyone we know. So a fundraiser, you know, we definitely look forward to that. The parents don't have any problems. I know you guys take care of all of your own equipment, and the cadets raise their own money, so that's to be commended. And then the only question I have is, I know that we recently lost First Sergeant Phoenix, and I'm wondering where we are with maybe a replacement. Will that happen this year, or are we looking at next year?
Oh, no, ma'am. We had a successful interview Monday morning at 7:30 at the high school. The hire letter is being worked on, I think, tomorrow morning by Human Resources. And it's a matter of Fort Knox doing the paperwork and getting it back. The plan is to have Sergeant First Class Comper, who currently teaches in Detroit Public Schools, on board here by the first pay period in January. And then he'll be here for the opening school on the 8th.
Very good. It was good to see you guys here tonight. Thank you.
And I just want to say that the kids are well-behaved and have good work ethic. I mean, in this program, do a large percentage of the students go on to enroll in the or enlist in the military?
No, ma'am. Nationwide, 1,384 programs, about 10% of all junior ROTC cadets ever go into the military, because we're a citizenship improvement program. Although our 34 DCTC cadets who come from other schools, a majority of them do go into the military, and they're coming for the benefit of getting a one-rank promotion after junior ROTC. So that gives them a leg up against all their compadres who are in basic with them. So if you take junior ROTC and you get a buddy to join with you on the buddy program, then you get 2 rank promotions out of basic training. So you go straight to PFC.
That's great. Thank you very much, and thank you, students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to committee reports. There is no report for the anti-bullying committee. The next meeting is December 14th at 4:30. Finance?
Thank you, Madam President. We had a Finance Committee meeting on December 7th at 5:30 here. Topics that were covered were setting Finance Committee dates through May, which we were trying to go for the fourth Wednesday of the month, but I just realized today that my wife's schedule has changed, so we're going to need to change those, and I'm sorry. So more to come on that one specifically. Other things that we had talked about, which is an action item that is on the working session, is related to the alternatives to the transportation RFP, as we are looking to find out what the cost is related to, more broadly understanding the expenses related to general transportation. And we'll be talking more about that there. And then we did an initial review of the amended budget of the general fund, which will be presented at the next board meeting. So kind of working through some questions there.
Thank you. And policy, we don't have a report. The next meeting is December 14th at 5:30. Legislative?
We don't have a report at this time. We meet this Thursday, which is the 14th at, is that 3:30?
3:45.
3:45.
Okay, thank you. And the curriculum, there's no report. The next meeting, we're not going to have a meeting in December. So the next meeting is going to be January 18th. Personnel?
I'll report at this time.
And then the grounds and maintenance, there's no report. The meeting has been rescheduled for January 9th at 6 p.m. Okay, moving on to discussion, the finance report. Mrs. McLaughlin? Thank you.
As Mr. Koopser said, we presented a draft of the amended general fund budget and discussed it in quite a lot of detail. A draft copy is also in the board members portal to start looking at. I have been making a few changes. I tried putting a lot of pieces together, and we have our double checks, and we found a couple things. So we'll have a final budget for your review with your board packets and in the portal, hopefully by Thursday, but certainly by Friday morning. Just going over everything and making sure everything's in line with the grants and with our additional loss of students. So I will be giving a full presentation at next Tuesday's board meeting.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Koopser.
Thank you, Madam President. As it relates to the presentation that Dan Connors gave earlier, he had talked about the reduction in students as it related to his particular budget. I was curious, as those, I imagine a portion of his budget is fixed and variable cost. How much of that do you know kind of writes itself out in terms of lack of not having to buy as much food, in terms of?
Right.
So he's
there
talking
will
about
be
being
some
short
reductions
$10,000,
in
but,
food
yeah.
costs. The personnel is a fixed cost at this point because we have the minimum staff that we can possibly have at each building to serve the meals. But there will be corresponding reduction in food costs. He also has commodities that are available for just a service charge. That also helps with that, and also there are some labor adjustments, but very small. And then he has also put into place some revenue generating items like the coffee machine, the yogurt machine, which if it wasn't 18 degrees, I would have tried it today when I was at the high school. But doing things like that and improving with the service lines, with the new equipment that we put in through the bond, we're hoping all of that will help as well. Plus the shared time service agreement with Grosse Ile Schools, and that is going well. And he had a very long day today. He also had to go he started with an ad staff meeting and had to go to Lansing and then come back here. So there are things in place. We are actually the budget amendment for next week is just the general fund. I'd like to get more trending information on the special revenue funds, especially with food service, latchkey, and our enrichment programs. So I'll present those budgets probably in late February. We want to at least kind of get through January to see how everything's trending with the change in students.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. McLaughlin. Curriculum report, Mrs. Pastor.
So you know that, just to remind you that this year we're looking at ELA curriculum for both ELA and science. And last Thursday we hosted a half day from the two final programs that the ELA department are looking into. And I want to read, with permission from the teacher, an unsolicited email that went out last Thursday night at 10:13 p.m. So this is from Beth Hensman. We saw two very complete options for adoption today. I feel that there are pros for each one. 1 minute I lean toward one, and then later I like something from the other. Please use the next few days to explore online collections and StudySync. Please spend some more time focusing on the assessment components and exploring the unit test. This seems to be where we had some holes after the presentations. If you think of a question, please forward them to me. I also made and shared a Google Sheet to organize the pros and cons for the two programs. Please add to that. I think our biggest takeaway is that whichever one we choose, we will have a platform that will provide a framework for each grade in which our different components, reading, writing, speaking, language, etc., are coordinated. We will have common unit pre-tests while giving use, yeah, little typo, giving some latitude to pirate within the selections. We have short passages, online news articles, and novel study in each grade. This is something we don't currently have. Whichever one we choose, we will all need to be on board. Pirates, all of us. That being said, next year will be a definite challenge, but exciting as well. We need to all agree on how we want PD at the start of next year. Michelle and Jill mentioned using Monday, August, blah, blah, blah. That just talks about the fact that they'll come in before they actually have to report for PD. The reason I wanted to read this is it's been such a big number of years since we've adopted curriculum, and these teachers are so selective and making sure that they're really getting the biggest bang for our millage dollars. And this is just a great representation of really so they've now spent 2 days reviewing curriculum, but they're also doing lots of things afterwards to really make sure that when they look at the two programs that they're really choosing the best one for the next 6 to 8 years. I have 2 more good news. So we were awarded a cybersecurity competition grant. So our very own Luke Bungie, he, with a little bit of help from Wendy, submitted a grant to the MDE, and we were awarded $5,700 for some competition. And if you need more information, he will have to share with you. I just wanted to say congratulations to that. On another good note, next Wednesday we have quarterly meetings at the county regarding MyStar DNA, which is also called Illuminate. And 2 of our 4th grade teachers from Allen have been asked to present at the county level with some wonderful things that they're doing with online assessments, using the Wonders and using our Illuminate. So just celebrating our great staff this evening and curriculum. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions. The superintendent report, Mrs. Cretion.
Not a real formal report other than to share with you that we continue to work on transitions, and Jill and I spend a lot of time together, but I think the examples that Jill gave you tonight are just a good representation of the excitement, that the buzz in the district right now. It's nice to see. We had an ad staff meeting this morning, started with a very early 7:30. Building principals talking about 5D Plus, doing some more calibration training, not because they have to, but because they want to, and just using common language. Everybody's talking about the 5-year plan. We don't sit down to a meeting anymore without a lot of connections being made and people talking about the planning and knowing what's coming next. It's just been I've enjoyed it a little bit to just sit back and listen to some of the conversations in the committee meetings around the districts and see the motivation and the excitement that's generated without a lot of prompting. It's been a long time coming for the district, and it's just really refreshing and encouraging to see the kind of enthusiasm that we do. So, and I don't have much voice left, so that's about all I've got for right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the board president's update. The only thing I have is that I activated the board self-assessment survey for this year at the MASB online. And I mentioned previously that there's a 2-week window for board members to get that assessment completed. And actually the 14th is the last day, so it won't close. It will not close until the last board member takes that assessment. And once that's completed, it'll close, and the MASB will complete a summary for us and send it to us so we can review from that. Okay, are there any citizen comments? I don't think there is. Moving on to consent. Can I have a motion to approve?
Madam President, I make a motion we approve consent items, or L, consent items 1 through 3.
Thank you.
Support.
Go ahead. Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Green, and I have a support by Mr. Estheimer. Any discussion? I don't think there's discussion on this. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to action, we have the first item, approval of the curriculum director. Can I have discussion on that first?
The motion before you is to approve, this actually ends up being an internal transfer of Dr. Michelle Baker Herring to the position of curriculum director. There were 2 internal candidates. We have a lot of talent in this district, and that was great to see. But Dr. Baker Herring is the unanimous recommendation of the interview panel. She has been involved in all of our curricular development teams. ILDT has done a lot of instructional improvements and curriculum work in the district since her joining the district. I don't know if Mr. Moran has other things to recommend. We're just really excited to recommend her to this position.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a motion to approve the action item?
I'll make a motion to approve appointing Dr. Michelle Baker Herring as curriculum director beginning January 1, 2018, according to the terms set in the SPSA contract.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Estheimer and a support by Mr. Koopser. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations. Okay, action item number 2. Can I have a motion? Can I have discussion on approval of the summer tax collection resolution 2018?
I have nothing additional to add.
Okay.
But it's not a very long resolution, so it does it should be read into the record.
Okay, thank you. So with that, can I have a motion to approve action item number 2?
Then the resolution needs to be read.
I need to read it.
Okay.
This is Andy, so waterproof. Okay.
Well, it says here before I read it, it says it has a motion and an approval. Don't we have to do that first? Because it's on the top.
You read the resolution first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, here we go. Whereas the board previously adopted a resolution to impose a summer levy tax to collect 100% of the annual school property taxes, including debt service upon property located within the district and continuing from year to year until specifically revoked by the board. Now therefore, be it resolved that, 1, the pursuant to 1976 Public Act 451 as amended revised school code invokes for 2018 its previously adopted ongoing resolution imposing a summer tax levy of all the annual school property taxes, including debt service upon property located within the district and continuing from year to year until specifically revoked by the board, and request each that the city and/or township in which the district is located collect those summer taxes. 2, excuse me, superintendent or designee is authorized and directed to forward to the governing body of each city and/or township in which the district is located a copy of this board's resolution imposing a summer property tax levy on an ongoing basis, and a copy of this resolution requesting that each such city and/or township agree to collect the summer tax levy for 2018 in the amount specified in this resolution. Such forwarding of the resolutions and the request to collect the summer tax levy shall be performed so they are received by the appropriate governing bodies before January 1st, 2018. 3, pursuant to and in accordance with Section 1613(1) of the revised school code, the superintendent or designee is authorized and directed to negotiate on behalf of the district with the governing body of each city and/or township in which the district is located for the reasonable expenses for collection of the district's summer tax levy that the city and/or township may build under MCL 380.1611 or MCL 380.1612. Any such proposed agreement shall be brought before the board for its approval or disapproval. All resolutions and parts of resolution insofar as they conflict with the provisions of the resolution B and the same are hereby rescinded. Whereas,
So do
I think that's all.
that's it.
So that was the motion.
That's the motion.
Support.
Thank you.
That's a long motion.
I almost wanted a clarification, but.
You asked for clarification, you were barking up the wrong tree, buddy.
So is there any other discussion on the resolution? Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Green and a support by Mr. Craig. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, can I have discussion on action item number 3, the approval of the 2018 Anderson High School roofing project?
All right, so in front of you, we have the packages for the 2018 roof replacement at Anderson High School. So this wraps up the last section of the roofing for the bond program, one of the largest sections we've done at any of the schools. So this is all related to Anderson High School. I'll kind of walk you through the binder, walk you through the information. The items included in here, we'll have our recommendation letter from Plant Moran Cressa, have a budget summary, the Structure Tech award recommendation letter. Structure Tech is the designer that we have had involved with the project from the start for all the roofing projects. The bid tabulation, and then the contractor's proposal and post-bid interview. So going through our recommendation letter, the bid documents were formally issued on October 19th. They were posted on the state website, in the local newspaper, and then also Structure Tech sent it out to a select number of roofing contractors that they deal with. So the information was sent out there to a wide variety of people. November 7th, sealed bid proposals were received, publicly opened, and reviewed subsequently the days thereafter. We did hold 2 post-bid scope review meetings with Quality Roofing and Newton Crane Roofing on November 20th. We had members of the bond team there along with Structure Tech for those meetings. Upon completion of the interviews and after subsequent discussions, the steering committee is recommending Newton Crane Roofing as the lowest responsible bidder. What we are recommending is base bid item 1, base bid item 2, and alternate number 1 and alternate number 3. So we did break down the design documents into a variety of categories with base bids and alternates, knowing that we were trying to get as much of the roofing area done as we could, but knowing we were capped out with our limit being the last year of the bond. We weren't sure how much was going to get in there, so we did break it out into a lot of alternates to be able to try to get as much roofing in there as we could. So initially, Quality Roofing was the apparent low bidder from the bid opening day. We brought them in for the post-bid meeting. We found out during that time that there was a substantial amount of demolition work that they did not have included. Part of the scope of work here related to Anderson is there's a lightweight concrete underneath the membrane roof on the roof that has to be removed. It ranges from up to probably 7-8 inches thick around the perimeter and then slopes down to all the drains to a couple inches. So there's actually, I mean, that is a substantial amount of work. They have to saw cut that, chip it out, hammer it out. They don't know if it's going to come out easy, how it's going to do. So that's basically over the entire 55,000 square foot of roofing that's included in this package. The removal of all that, they did not have that included in their bid. They did not review the addendums. There were 3 addendums issued during bidding. They did not review them. They did not acknowledge them at the time of bid. After bid, prior to the post-bid meeting, they did get a chance to review them. They said there was no cost change to their proposal, but they did not have it included during their initial bid. They also did not attend the pre-bid meeting. It was a non-mandatory meeting, but they were the only roofer that submitted a bid that did not attend that meeting. At that time, Structure Tech led the meeting, went through the design, went through all the documents, the requirements. We walked the job. We walked each area of the roof that was included. The contractors did test cuts on the roof. They did measurements.
walked all those areas. We talked about site logistics. We did a lot of work around this high school with new parking lots, new concrete, new site restoration, the tennis courts. This is going to be pretty difficult access getting in and out of this building without damaging what we just put in here this year. So that was really stressed in the pre-bid meeting that they weren't there for. So based on those factors with everything, we did bring in Newton Crane. We reviewed that. They were at the meeting. They asked questions. They had all that accounted for. They talked about how they were going to try to approach the project, how they were going to take care of those, what their steps were for restoration, and how, really how they approached the project. They had a good understanding of the project. So really based on those factors, the bond team, the steering committee, is recommending that we go with Newton Crane Roofing as the lowest responsible bidder for the project for, as I mentioned, base bid items 1, base bid item 2, alternate 1, and alternate 3. The total award recommendation for the 2018 roofing projects is $999,790. This includes a contract award to Newton Crane for $908,900, and then we're requesting to carry a 10% contingency for $90,890 for the project. So that kind of summarizes the recommendation letter. If you go to tab 2, there's a budget summary that shows you how the project shook out with relation to what's left in the budget for the roofing projects. So overall, we have $1,048,420 left in the roofing for the bond. So this project coming in at $990,790 leaves us still a little balance left over after this project. So we really tried to squeeze in as much of the areas of the roofing as we could with the alternates, kind of prioritizing which ones we could do and how they'd fit in, and that's how we came to this number, to try to squeeze as much in there as we could. Tab 3, structure text recommendation letter. They kind of outline a lot of the same summary that we just talked about with the bidding process with Quality Roofing and Newton Crane. They do outline there in the steps you can see at the bottom, kind of really talks about the scope of the work that's required with the complete removal of existing roof system, including the lightweight concrete. That's the big ticket item there. But includes, all the new drain, clamping rings, bolt strainers, a lot of the same scope of work that we did on the other roofs, just applied to this roof. There are access ladders. I don't know if any of you have been up on the roof, but there's a lot of multiple different elevations of roofs. A lot of them are very hard to get to. You either have to step on conduits, ductwork, units, climb up old ladders that some of them I wouldn't even climb up myself to get to some of these areas. So it's pretty difficult. The roof hatch to get up there is difficult. The guys are trying to bring up ladders and stuff through there. So we've gone through, we included 6 ladders that would get access to these areas that are really unreachable right now. 2 years ago under one of the projects, we did include a couple at that time for a few areas. So after this project's done, really you'll be able to get to pretty much anywhere on the roof, a lot more accessible than you can today. So I think that'll be a big benefit. So kind of outlines the scope. As you can see on the next page, there were 6 alternates to the roofing project here. We were able to pick up alternates 1 and 3. 2, 4, 5, and 6, we'll address depending on how the contingency goes on the project. If we don't run into any issues or anything, maybe we can look at doing a few of those additional areas there. But sitting down, talking with Nate Lay and the team and everybody, we really identified what were the most critical areas to include, and we're able to pick that up. Behind there is a copy of the bid form for Newton Crane for your reference. You can see their breakdowns. There's a lot of unit prices and stuff in there that are included that are helpful when we're finding items when we expose the roof decks, to be able to identify if there's nailers or deck that needs to be replaced. We have the pricing here. It's easy to square foot it, and it makes for any changes that come up quick and easy to authorize them to proceed and be able to cover that cost. Also included is a copy of the post-bid scope review minutes with Newton Crane. Both contractors were ran through the same post-bid scope review, but all that information is in there for you. And then under tab 4 shows the bid tab for the 6 bids that were received, that you can see how the pricing came in. So like I said, Newton Crane is the lowest responsible bidder that we feel for this project, and that's who we're recommending today for the 2018 roofing project. Any questions, anything I can answer for you guys?
I have a question about, you said that the bidder that, were they the ones that didn't just do the 50,000 that they didn't know of, or they didn't add to the bid?
The low bidder?
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was the square footage of the building. We're doing about 50,000, 55,000 square foot of roofing. So there's a lightweight concrete on there that has to be removed underneath the membrane. Lightweight concrete, that is, has to be saw cut, chipped out. They did not include that. They did not anticipate that being removed. They just planned on removing the membrane and putting new membrane over top of the lightweight. But a lot of the areas that we're having up there, there's a lot of failure. You have a lot of nail pops, fastener pops and stuff if you walk up there. So through all the design and everything that Structure Tech's done, the recommendation is to remove all that, put in new insulation underneath there. It's a pretty substantial cost. I mean, they said they'd do it. They said they didn't have the cost in there, but they would do it. That does not give you a very warm and fuzzy feeling. I mean, it's a couple hundred, I don't know, it's probably a couple $100,000 item, just for somebody to off the whim say that they would do that.
So my next question is, do we have people at Plant Moran that are going to monitor the expenses or the material choices? Because we don't want them to cut corners and select something that's low grade, that's...
Well, that's where, I mean, Structure Tech will be responsible. They come out, they do, if not weekly, a couple times a week, they do field inspections, they do reports that they provide to the district. They check all that. But Newton Crane, who we're recommending, we feel very confident they understand the job, they have the materials that are spec'd, they know what's required, they know the restoration that's going to be required, the care that's going to be required around the site. There's a lot more comfort level with them, and that's why we're recommending Newton Crane as the low bidder, even as the qualified low bidder, even though they're second.
And you guys vet them, you check their references and everything, so.
Yes, they Structure Tech's worked with them many times. I've talked to other districts that have used them. You know, Plant Moran has used them in the past, so they're a pretty well-known roofing contractor in the area. They've set aside this project. This was one of the first projects really out to bid for next year. They really targeted this project. Part of bringing it to you guys here today was to get on their books. So when they were looking at projects to bid that are coming out now, or here pretty quickly, they were interested in getting this project awarded to them, so they knew, they could set the manpower aside for this project.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. Craig?
We're not putting any lightweight concrete back, right? It's all going to be replaced with the insulation?
Yep, it'll all be tapered insulation.
And that's what we did at all the other buildings too, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of it we really didn't run into too much lightweight on the other buildings. If the insulation was wet, we removed it. Some of the buildings we were able to have some cost savings that the insulation, when we pulled back the membrane, we found that the insulation wasn't wet. So we left it and received credits back for that. So it was kind of a case-by-case basis depending on the type of roof system. Some of them really didn't have much insulation on them, so it was really case-by-case. But no, we're definitely not putting any lightweight back.
Yeah, I don't see how that is a good insulator.
No.
But
nope.
Okay.
So it'll basically, the new insulation going back will probably be slightly thicker than what you have now. So you should get better insulation value for it. And it'll all be tapered insulation to the existing roof drains and stuff that's there.
And this puts us in a better situation when we have to replace the roof again at some point.
Yes.
You don't have to bust out.
Yep.
$200,000 worth of concrete.
Exactly.
Replace it. Okay.
Exactly. So.
Sounds good. Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Madam President?
Mrs. Bossett?
Just out of curiosity, Rob, because I never really asked questions on the process because you guys know more. But are you familiar, or was there any discussion about microbial-induced calcite precipitation to do on that cement work? Are you familiar with that? It's it came around about 2013, and a lot of contractors are using it now when you have thin slab, or any kind of cement it works with. It's a simulated native soil bacteria, and it's new concrete. It has it in it. It repairs itself, so it literally creates living buildings. But they developed in 2013 a type of spray and a conduit that you can put on existing, and it soaks down into the cracks and actually repairs the concrete to a stronger level. And then it continues to do that with each rain. So I was just curious if that's something that, are they getting that innovative with talking about concrete, or is it basically bust it up or re-pour?
Yeah, I have not heard of that. I'll be interested to look
It's
into that a
fascinating
little
if you
bit.
look it up, though, yeah.
I don't know if that is necessarily the same with, you know, I have to look if it's for the roofing system. I mean, that's probably more of an exposed.
This is under the membrane. This is not supposed to get wet because it's underneath the membrane.
It's both, and it works off of just precipitation in the air. So one of the reasons I bring it up is because when concrete we use this insulation in older buildings, and they've talked about this a lot in the city of Detroit, they have been using this practice to try and salvage without the big cost of the repair. So it's kind of a unique process. I don't know if it's something that everyone would be doing.
I'll ask, Structure Tech, the designer, if that's
just out of curiosity.
Anything. What was it again?
If you just look up bioconcrete, it should probably take you to a bunch of different sites about it. Or if you do MICP, bioconcrete, that's the acronym for it.
Yeah, I will dig into that a little bit.
And it's good seeing you again.
Thank you.
That's good. Mr. Coopser?
Thank you. As it related to the tapered insulation, is there an R value that was put in the scope as it related to the level of insulation being put on the ceiling?
There is. I don't know if he outlined it in their actual description of the scope. I can find out what they design it to. There's standards and code requirements for that, but I don't know offhand exactly what they designed this to.
Do you know
I
if-
can find that out for you.
I'd appreciate that. And if there's any exploration as it relates to taking advantage of any rebates offered by utilities by having insulation levels over and above the baseline?
I actually have a meeting with our DT representative on January 3rd, so I'll ask her about that.
I will get some information sent
And
over
also
for you on
ask
that.
if you can ask them if they
Yep.
know that thing, and then I can use that during my meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll check into that.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you?
No.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion.
I move the approval of the award for the 2018 Anderson High School roofing bond project to Newton Crane Roofing in the amount not to exceed $999,790.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Craig and a support by Mr. Green. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, employee representatives. Information or announcements from the board.
Madam President, I do have some things to talk about. This past week, I had the pleasure to attend both the Shelters and Ford Line Winter Concerts, and I just want to say those kids did amazing. The staff, the principals, and especially Mr. Rickendauer and Richendaler, sorry, and Mrs. Beeson. They should be very proud. They did an outstanding job. Specifically at Shelters, I wanted to take a moment. You've noticed in your HR update approved that Ms. Pappas is retiring. So good luck to her. She's been with the district for over 25 years, committing her life to education at Southgate Unity School District. We're definitely a better place because of her outstanding involvement. She's touched many, many buildings and people over the years, over the span of her career. She's worked at Ford Line, Garish, North Point, and Shelters, and we're thankful for her service and wish her the best of luck. Also at Shelters, just a reminder that the Santa Shop which is organized by the PTO, goes until tomorrow, and also they have an angel tree there that's also, you can bring in gifts through tomorrow. And Ford Line, the only thing I really have, other than going back to the beginning topic, I just have this image of Miss Ball dancing across the stage at the winter concert. It was Pretty awesome. But they do have a PTO meeting Thursday, December 14th, and they have an upcoming movie night on Friday, December 15th. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members?
I have one, Madam President. On Tuesday, December 19th, we have a board meeting that night, but the students from the program at the in Anderson High School, Unite, are getting together with a pretty large group of other students from the high school and from another high school's chorus program and doing Christmas caroling. They stick to the old homestead in Southgate because it's pretty well organized. We did this last year, and I went out with the kids, and they had a really good time, and we even had a lot of participation from people who threw their hat and scarf on and went along with us, so it was kind of neat. So they're expecting twice as many kids this year, which is really good, and it's, you know, a pat on the back for Unite, who are gathering together and being a bigger part of the high school at Anderson. So if you would like to attend or are interested in donating cookies for the kids, because they do cookies, cocoa, and pizza after, you can get a hold of Mr. Reynolds at the high school.
Thank you. I just have a couple things. Again, with Mr. Estheimer's support, I wanted to thank Mrs. Pappas for her service and dedication to the students over at shelters and her commitment to Southgate and her leadership, and congratulations on your retirement. Also, the 7th grade Davidson boys basketball team beat Taylor West yesterday. Good job for them. And also, I attended the Bandorama last weekend, and I was very impressed and proud of all the students, all the different grades that were there. Everything from the bands playing, the symphony band, the choir, the individual singers, and the rock and roller, the guy, I don't know his name, but he did a great job. So everything was great. The kids, I'm very proud of the kids. Also, Davidson will be holding their Davidson Arts Night concert next Tuesday, December 19th. All of the music groups from Davidson will be performing at that time as well. So moving on to work items. Mrs. McLaughlin?
So we want to do a follow-up on our transportation RFP. After Amy Sasina from Plant Moran was here at the beginning of November, we talked about the board's goals about also looking at alternatives for possibly adding some transportation at some point in the future, and possibly working to find out the cost of that into our current RFP that we're doing. Included in your packets was a copy of the email that she sent me as a follow-up that I forwarded to you on November 15th. So the things that she addressed at that time was that they would need a transportation policy from the district, which currently we don't have one except as it relates to special education, because we don't have transportation. And it would need to address such things as what schools would be bused, what the walking versus busing distance is, how bus stops are handled, such as where there's a stop at each house, bus stops in a more central location. We talked about this during the Finance Committee meeting last week, and that's a lot of information. We came to the conclusion that really as a good starting point for making this determination, we need to look back at what was done in the past. And we have, you know, most people here, that happened before we were in the district, but the records are not readily accessible. They are at Heinsohn, and so that'll take some time to do. She stated, assuming we had your transportation policy by mid-January, which is only a month from now, it shouldn't add any time to developing the RFP. They would add a week onto the vendor response time, but it wouldn't materially change it. And the additional work on for Plant Moran to add this to our RFP would not exceed $5,000. And the price is a concern because of our finances. And so those things were addressed during the Finance Committee meeting. After the Finance Committee meeting, I did do a follow-up with Amy about our concerns and how we felt the best way for us to approach it to look at this. And her recommendation was that we could request in the RFP that they do an estimate, so it just gives us a guideline of what the cost would be, and the extra sheet that was at your seats addresses basically 3 things that Plant Moran needs to know, where they can still incorporate a request in our RFP for additional services. The first one is are the bus stops at each house, each building, a more central location. If you can come to a consensus of what you think you'd like to see regarding that. I don't know that we've done each house in the past, but I know at the high school they were doing central locations before the busing was stopped. Considering each grade level, any distance for walking. And then also at each grade level, the consideration about crossing main roads. And I listed some major ones there where Allen and Ford Line intersect Dix Toledo Road, Grogan crosses North Line, the high school and middle school cross all major roads, and the students in South Allen Park would cross Goddard. So if they can get some general ideas from the board of what possible direction, they can incorporate that, and it would be no additional cost to at least address those 3 areas. I don't necessarily expect, we've got a board meeting next week. We've got a board meeting right after the holiday break. So I don't know if you want to do any discussion right now, if you want to plan for some discussion to make some determinations within the next 1 or 2 board meetings so that we can give some information to Plant Moran. And it will give us some information when they do the RFPs. And then we can move forward.
So to be clear, no extra cost, and that $5,000 wouldn't be?
No, for just addressing these 3 areas, no extra cost.
Okay, Mr. Craig?
I guess that was my question, so this is no additional cost to the original RFP?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not, so we wouldn't have to pay the $5,000?
No.
We could just get some information?
Right.
So if we can decide what information we want pretty quick, we can get some free information?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Just on some basics, yes. And it would be
Yeah,
an
basics.
estimate, but I think it would be valuable information for the board.
Which is answering these 3 questions.
Yes.
Madam President? In looking at this, I just real quickly, I know a lot of Neola policies have a boilerplate or a template online, and there is one for transportation, which I can send to you if you'd like. It's 8600 Ferndale Public School uses it.
Okay.
So there's kind of already a boilerplate. And then I'm wondering if we can, if someone has to crack out the binder from when we did the school route, safe school survey.
I have that, so I was.
Because the law is in there in regards to, we can't have a student, I believe it's 2 miles walking more. They had done a whole windshield survey at that time, so if Dr. Pomponio has that information, that would be good to look through that to answer this. And then I don't know how much it costs for us to develop a new policy as well. I know that there are 2 dates that you could open at any time, but do you remember? And
You don't need to do a policy for this first round.
Right.
They'll do this work without the policy.
Right.
But at any time, you can request that Neola send you their template, and you could add that into any of the updates that you wanted.
Right, and I know that they don't need it for this, but I'm just thinking in the part of the discussion, if I was creating a logic model for this, one of the obstacles might be the policy and the upkeep on it. So as we start to think of what things we need, can we start to make a list of how much that will cost as we do it?
I'm going to put that in the policy committee, and we can talk about
Okay.
that Thursday.
Okay.
It won't cost you anything to do the policy. There won't be a cost to
Right.
that.
Okay.
Unless there's anything additional that you're thinking about that.
I just know when we sat down and we were making it, whenever we do a change, there was a fee.
No, there's a fee if we create our own policy and they have to type it or have it vetted by an attorney. As long as we use their template, we can get those at any time. Because there's a lot of things that we didn't choose to use, but we can get those and then include them when we do any of our policy updates, and they won't charge us.
So right now, the one that we have is the law-driven, and then we would just be looking at their boilerplate.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And we can amend it and then send it back for updates.
Okay.
Thank you.
We want to briefly talk about these three things, or?
Yeah.
I think these things are kind of simple. Maybe we can talk about these three things now and get some ideas or a consensus.
That's
Well,
fine.
and Teresa asked at the administrative staff meeting this morning, you did ask about the distances. We do have that information.
Their recollection is that it was a mile for elementary, 1.5 miles for the middle school, and 2 miles for the high school.
And then how does that impact, oh, I'm sorry, Madam President?
Mrs. Mossam.
With that, I know that there's like a whole algebraic scheme that goes into calling a snow day. And of course, when kids love it, but it does, you know, cost us a day and all that. But does that then change with us rerouting our schools, and now we have Allen Park side of Southgate, which is going to be much more than this 2.5 mile, whatever. On inclement weather days, I know that it says if there's a certain temperature that goes beneath, and you have kids that are coming from this much distance away. So we should remember that and how that might impact our snow days. Because we have had a year where we went past our snow days, and so we've experienced that already, and we know what that can do to our end of year.
Right. Okay.
We're just talking about setting up bus stops, though. I mean, you can't change
Like
that based
central
on
locations
weather.
or-
Well, or end of the block, or whatever it is. You're basically saying those distances from a school, you're not busing,
That's
right?
correct. That's
You're
correct.
busing outside of that distance. So,
Right.
so those distances sound reasonable to me.
Unless they
Unless you're crossing
a major road, and then you have to add,
Yeah.
you have to choose if you want to add that in.
Sure. I think that's something I would be looking to consider as part of an estimate, is those distances. and
Okay.
Not crossing major roads,
Okay.
especially for elementary, middle school.
Well, we tried to get some information too, because no one could remember exactly when the busing changed for the high school, because for quite a while that had been 5 stops around the city. So if you could get your child to that stop, then they rode the bus. And that had been going on for quite some time. So that's kind of that central location decision to be made. But everyone at the table this morning seemed to think that K-8 had pretty much stayed. It was K-8 was one section, and they never did house to house. They did like end of block
Right,
or
end of
something
the
like
block.
that. And then at some point, a long time ago, they stopped the busing for high school and just did the central locations for quite a while.
Okay.
And that was everybody's best memory.
And that would be fine for me, because that's easy to, if we don't want to do high school, that's easy to back out of the, because again, it's just an estimate.
Right, it is.
And then will they, in getting this estimate, is this something that they will blend with the special ed, or?
No, it would be separate.
It'd be separate?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, because like you may have a route where they have to stop at the house, pick up that student, and then they go to the end of the block and pick up another 8. So I wonder how that might affect.
Special education, only special education students are supposed to be on special education buses. So,
Some stops will have 2 buses.
right.
If you provide transportation to your entire population, you don't put those special education students on that bus. That's going to remain regardless.
No, I know it remains. I just thought I thought they could.
Some you can,
Some
and
you
some
can.
you can't. So that would be really hard to predict.
I see. Okay.
It depends on the reason why
Depends
they're
on
on the, yeah,
It depends on the level
yeah.
of assistance required,
The-
right?
Because we have restricted busing, most of the students that we have on an IEP who are eligible for bus service, in all likelihood, remain on a separate bus.
Okay.
So there's a lot of high school students that I see every day cross Dix. That's a very busy road, and they don't use the overpass.
Right, or they don't use where the light is at Superior.
Yeah, I see that, and
Yeah.
just, it makes me nervous.
Right.
But there's a lot of them that do walk that way.
Right.
In the middle school, of course, they get picked up, so.
Right.
See a
So
lot of
I
kids
will
middle school too?
relate to her more
yeah,
central
that's right.
locations. I'll let her know that as we did have 5 central locations for the high school the last time before we stopped busing. And distance is 1, 1.5, and 2 without crossing any main roads.
Well, the
Yeah.
2 almost you don't have to worry about because that's going to be central locations, right?
Right.
So,
right.
so will they do each of those separately so we can see each amount, or will they just do a lump estimate, you think?
I can ask, and I can request
better
that.
that we
I can
get
do
it
it
separate.
separately.
Yeah,
can
I'd like to
see.
see each one separate.
Each
Well, I guess
elementary, middle, and
I
high
don't
school.
need, I don't need to see that separate. What I'd like to see separate is high school. So high school,
Right.
if you do central locations, and then K-8.
Oh, okay,
That's what I would
Yeah,
like to see. I don't know if
that's
anybody
what-
else has something different.
okay,
So just 2 options, I guess, really.
okay. Okay, I will relay that to her. So the goal is for me to get all the information to Plant Moran by the middle of January. I'm hoping to do it sooner. Because we use Trinity, and they've been our major provider for busing services, and they have a lot of the detail. I have to go to them. They have provided most of the information, actually, this evening, before the meetings started, so I'm just going to pull everything together, and with the information, I will give them maps of the district and in the section of Allen Park, and then they can start the process. So that sounds good?
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Do we,
Mr. Koopster?
do we know if any other, and forgive me for my ignorance, but other districts that offer busing in the downriver area? And my question is that, is it possible we can, I'm thinking some level of benchmarking, giving us, understanding of how they address these 3 questions and what their costs are and their student population, and do we?
Well, Woodhaven provides busing. I don't know the scope of their busing. They own their buses and they contract for drivers. Taylor. Allen Park. Wyandotte doesn't. Lincoln Park doesn't. What is? They're all. I mean, we'd have to. I'm trying to think if there's anybody who would be looking at contracting the buses and the drivers. That would be our closest similar.
I think you meant like the distances and stuff, right?
Well, I'm just
Who
saying.
doesn't own the buses and provides busing? That would be the most similar scenario to what we're talking about.
Yeah, if we could, what I was saying is that if we could reach out to the corresponding finance director and say, if you could help me understand how you guys answer these questions.
How do they
you
treat
own-
crossing major roads? How do they treat, do they do house to house, or do they do end of the block, or do they do central locations, or?
So would Brisa know that? The ones
Well, I have my monthly Wayne County School Business Officials meeting next Thursday,
Okay.
so I will add it to the roundtable meeting. So basically, the frequency of the stops and crossing major roads.
Yeah, a distance, how, the
Dis-
distance from schools that
Okay,
they, like.
basically these 3 questions.
Yeah, basically these 3 questions.
Okay.
How would they answer them with their policy?
provider of
if
service,
they're-
then
Okay.
they should know.
If Trinity's the provider, they should know that,
Yeah.
yeah. I just want to, it's just when you do benchmarking, you have to take in consideration, are they in the same situations we are?
Okay.
And are they setting up their service the same way, and that's all. So, doesn't mean anything if they own their own, they have their own
Right.
bus drivers and, you know,
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
they
that's
stop at
how-
every single house.
Yeah, that's.
Not what we're looking for,
We
but it's
wouldn't-
nice to
wouldn't be
know that so you
helpful.
don't benchmark against them, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, good work, thank you. Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Support.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, motion adjourned.